In today's video, we're going to be diving into the very concerning pattern where we do have a major flooding risk across much of the eastern states, especially the further southeast you go. We're going to be diving into that where we have potentially 10 plus days of rainfall expected, as we titled in yesterday's video. We kind of unpacked that together. It's just looking like an insane amount of rainfall over the course of a relatively short amount of time. But really, if you think about it, I mean, 10 days of chances of rain is a pretty extended period of time for most areas. So a concerning look. We also have some severe weather chances within there also to discuss. And some big time temperature flips on the way, where we've obviously been in a hotter pattern. We're expected to get a little bit cooler here for the time being. So we're going to discuss all of this today. Let's dive into things I want to take a look at later on this afternoon. We actually do have a slight risk of severe weather today. We will see this later on, but for a lot of North Carolina and Virginia here. Might even go as far south as South Carolina. I don't really know, though. We do see that there is overall this precipitation chance just throughout the southeast corner of the nation. Yesterday was kind of day one of it for Wednesday. And also, last week, we saw days of rainfall for some of these areas as well. So this is tallying on top of that, which is just crazy to think about. But for the most part, as far as this period of rainfall is concerned, we're already on day two today, day one being yesterday on Wednesday, July 17th. So heavier rainfall, especially here, as you can see, for Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, and then for the Carolinas through Virginia here for the most part, with some chances in between. Some periodic showers and thunderstorms ongoing for the Rockies here, and then some of eastern Canada as well. Let's move towards tomorrow on Friday, July 19th, and what we see is a continued deep south and southeast rainfall event that is ongoing. Heavy thunderstorms. Now, it has pushed a little bit further southeast for this day, as you can see. Some of the northern and western counterparts not seeing as much for here. We do see more for the Rockies and Plains here as well. But as we move towards Saturday, we're going to see this kind of bounce back to the north a little bit. So it will shift. It's not going to stay completely stagnant, of course, for 10 days. But some of these areas seeing all 10 days of it. Some of us seeing it more periodically. But it is, for the most part, staying in relatively the same location. So important to note there. Now, as we just continue onward, well, I guess we didn't dive into it enough here. Let's just dive a little further into it. But we see for the four corner states and the plains, we're seeing this expanding, ever expanding and continuing pocket of just thunderstorms ongoing, showers and thunderstorms, I should say, because some of these areas are likely just seeing the showers. However, we see that the southeast is seeing much heavier storms. Saturday could be a very heavy day for a lot of these areas. And the darker greens are obviously going to be the areas where higher confidence of precipitation is at. But really, a lot of these areas have a good shot of seeing some form of rainfall for the day on Saturday, the 20th. Let's move forward. I want to keep going towards Sunday on the 21st here. And we see that it all kind of comes together. I mean, on this day, it's hard to really pinpoint anywhere east of the Rockies where there's not going to be much precipitation. Maybe the Ohio Valley there getting a little bit of a dry slot, but most areas east of the Rockies for Sunday look like there's a chance of thunderstorms. The southeast area is there, but it's kind of just connected with the rest of the precipitation, as you can see for Sunday, July 21st. As we take a look at Monday, July 22nd, it's a lot of the same, maybe even heavier than Sunday, especially for these southern areas. Now we're looking at the four corner states through the southern plains, kind of your deeper south area, and then the southeast for the heaviest of the precipitation here, with more chances to the north. I mean, it's spotty. We see some drier slots in there, if I was to pinpoint a few, and then I'm going to X where there's more precipitation. Don't expect it to look exactly like this, of course. There is, some variability here, especially when we're looking at about 5 days out for Monday. Definitely a little bit more taking it with a grain of salt here, getting towards it. Once we get to hours 240, we're definitely going to be a little skeptical of some things. Here's Tuesday on July 23rd, getting stormier and stormier for the eastern seaboard, especially here. We're seeing the deep south, the southeast, mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley. I think I already said mid-Atlantic, but northeast there, all seeing heavy thunderstorms for Tuesday on July 23rd. So a continuation of all of these things. Wednesday the 24th, you guessed it, the entire area here for the southeast up the east coast, actually, we're seeing continued thunderstorms here on Wednesday, July 24th. As we keep going towards Thursday, July 25th, we see continued thunderstorms for the Gulf and East Coast especially, but we do see some of the kind of Great Lakes getting involved here. Again, the Four Corner states getting, and surrounding states actually throughout the Rockies are getting another kind of period of rainfall here starting for Friday or Thursday the 25th, heading into Friday the 26th. As we keep going here towards Friday the 26th, the day here, we do see that the southeast finally is slowing down a little bit, where we have lighter pockets here, which is going to be more isolated and scattered about, hit or miss. You might miss it, the county over might get it. That's going to be a lot of what this is. So definitely a big change in pace here for Friday the 26th. Could this be the end? Let's see how Saturday looks. And we do see pockets of rainfall here for Saturday, of course, more for the deeper south into the Ohio Valley. So yes, it is continuing for some areas, but the East Coast is kind of getting spared here by this point. So seeing a little bit of a slowdown there could spell semi the end of this, almost by the end of July, which is crazy to think about. So about 8-9 days from now. Absolutely insane stuff. As we take a look here at the total precipitation expected throughout this 10-day period here through July 28th, we see that there is near average amounts for most areas outside of this red pocket. So we're going to talk about these areas here where there's near normal amounts for most of these areas. The above average amount is going to be for Texas through kind of the entire deep south into the southeast, up the mid-Atlantic coast, and even into southern New England. Shouldn't come as much of a surprise because these are the areas that we're getting bombarded for 10 days straight. So I don't think it's going to surprise too many people. Now, what's really concerning is that this is only 10 days. The reds is 2 to 5 inches of precipitation, which is a whole lot, obviously, for 10 days, far above average for most of these areas. The brown kind of corridor here, mostly this pocket right here, is going to be where there's potential for 5 to 10 inches of precipitation. Certainly, that is going to be a whole nother level. So we're talking about very concerning levels of rainfall in this brown pocket. Of course, the reds are very concerning as well, especially when we talk about how active July has been for some areas already. When you stack that on top of it, the ground is already saturated. It has nowhere to go. You're going to see flooding concerns, especially in those areas that have seen rainfall already. And even in some of the drier areas, the ground has a hard time accepting the rainfall at first if it's been too dry. So it's kind of, not really good either way to see this much rainfall. Could see flooding for either reason. A little bit more of a long-term concern with the areas that have already seen the rainfall, because it's just going to keep it saturated. And then what if we see more rain down the road? Definitely big-time concerns there. As we take a look at the overall anomalies of the rainfall, according to the European Ensemble model, we actually get a 15-day outlook here. A little bit drier, but near normal for these areas, like I mentioned, for the West, the plains, the northern plains, especially upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and the interior Northeast here, as you can see. But we do see the greens for the southeast corridor here, not really too big of a surprise. The greens is going to be about 0.1 to 2 inches above average over the next 15 days. To put it kind of in terms here, you probably expect 1 to 2 inches total over a 15-day period this time of year, maybe 3 if you're in a more wet area. So to see potentially 2 inches on top of that is going to be far above average, almost doubling your average for that 15-day period. The blue is where we expect potentially 2 to 5 inches above average over the next 15 days, which is going to be talking about potentially doubling or tripling some of these averages across these areas. Very crazy stuff, guys. Absolutely insane. And I can't really overstate it. I mean, there is just a lot of rainfall on the way compared to normal, and it could come down pretty fast at times. Typically, when we expect in the summertime this much precipitation, some areas exceed it because there's these little isolated thunderstorms that drop more. So some areas could really easily exceed some of these numbers, which is crazy to think about. Now, as we just dive into the tropics a little bit, I want to talk about this. We were watching day over day the kind of MDR area here where we see the waves coming off of Africa and heading towards the Caribbean. I want to watch this every day with you guys because I think it's interesting for this time of year. I mean, we see these waves. We see 1, maybe 2, 3, 4. None of them develop here, just like the last few days. But anytime you see a kind of higher number of these waves coming through, it does lead you to think that, that does increase the chance overall. Just a numbers game, right? The more waves we see, the more chance of maybe one popping off and coming out of here and developing. So that's always kind of where my concern lies, and definitely something I'll be thinking about, obviously, through the upcoming pattern. As we take a look at the temperature pattern, the cool down is here. A bit of an Arctic blast coming from the Arctic regions of Canada here. A nice summertime cool down that's going to bring very comfortable temperatures. It's really due in part to this positive PNA out west, which stands for Pacific North American Oscillation. All it really means is warmer temperatures out west, but it does force a lot of the cold to pour into the east here, and that's what we've really seen driving this pattern. We actually see Arctic blast number 1, and there's actually a second one here behind it, as you can see. So number 1 down here, number 2 on the way. So pretty cold for an extended period of time. That one kind of sticks up near Canada though, and does interact with the northeast, but the southern one sticks in place for quite a while. I think that we're going to see it end sometime after the 25th, in my opinion, so about 7 days from now, because we start to get these cooler temperatures intruding on the west coast. Now it could last longer, and this is a pretty bold take because this model wants to keep it in the east, and I wish it would stay in the east, honestly, just with how hot it's been. But this model is an ensemble model, and there's multiple members, about 30 members, trying to give different opinions, and they're taking the mean average of that to make this forecast. And I really think that there's some disagreement going on. Typically when you see that west coast start to cool down, you would start to see the east warm back up again. So I don't expect this to last too long. I think that's going to die out sometime very close to the 25th or a little bit after. So that is my current expectation. Could change. Stay up to date, of course, with what I'm saying, but I think that's what I'm thinking right now. This model wants to hold on to it all the way through the beginning of August. And look, if it warms back up out west, sure, I would definitely see it as a much higher probability. But if the west does cool down, do expect these areas to warm pretty significantly. As we take a look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook, we do have 2, or actually 3 general thunderstorm risk areas here. Very interesting. We have one for like Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, and Nantucket. So I've never seen that, actually. That's pretty crazy. We do have one up there for exclusively Maine as well, which is also quite interesting. And then we have that very large one scoping well across the southeast, deep south, up the plains, the Rockies, even into some of the southwest. So all of these areas is where we expect general thunderstorms to occur. Anything is possible though, so please heed every watch, warning, and advisory. We have 3 marginal risk areas there in the darker greens where we expect isolated severe weather to occur. And then we have that yellow area there for Virginia and North Carolina for today. This is again for Thursday, July 18th. And that is where we have a level 2 slight risk and expect some scattered about severe weather to occur in there. So some pretty bad thunderstorms. For day 2, tomorrow on Friday, July 19th, we once again have a fairly large general thunderstorm risk area. And then another marginal risk area in the level 1 for the plains there in that darker green shade. As we move towards day 3 here on Saturday, July 20th, we once again have a very large general thunderstorm risk. Don't expect that to change anytime soon. That's probably going to be a daily occurrence for weeks or months here. As we get to September timeframe, that's when things slow down a little bit. But for now, this is going to be, the thing. There's always going to be a chance of thunderstorms this time of year for most areas. We do have that level 1 marginal risk there for Virginia and North Carolina. I'll be watching that closely for Saturday the 20th as well. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe. We do upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.